Let's be real. The last few years have been a lot. The pandemic was this massive shared trauma that completely reshaped our world. But what if, and this might sound a little strange, what if that whole struggle also held the potential for us to grow?
Now, I know it's so easy to just focus on all the negative stuff. And believe me, there was plenty of it. But what if struggling through a crisis that big can actually lead to positive, lasting change in a person? It's a pretty counterintuitive idea, but it's at the very heart of some absolutely fascinating psychological research. So let's dig into this. How on earth can something so destructive possibly lead to something constructive? Well, psychologists actually have a pretty powerful name for this exact phenomenon. It's called post-traumatic growth, or PTG for short. And here's the key thing to get. This isn't about bouncing back to who you were before. It's about bouncing forward. The research sees it as a genuine change in your personality, an actual improvement in how you function that happens because you wrestled with a major life challenge.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. This growth isn't just some vague feeling of, oh, I feel stronger now. Nope. Researchers have actually pinpointed 5 distinct areas of life where it tends to show up. These are the 5 big ones, the key domains of post-traumatic growth. And as we go through them, I want you to just think about your own experience over the last few years. See if any of these, resonate with you. First up, deeper relationships. A lot of people report that a crisis like this just clarifies things. You find out who really has your back, and those bonds can become so much stronger, creating a much more profound sense of connection. Second is this newfound sense of personal strength. It's that feeling of, wow, if I got through that, I can pretty much get through anything. You discover this inner resilience, this ability to handle things that you maybe never even knew you had.
The third path is a greater appreciation for life. I think a lot of us can relate to this one. After you face a major threat, you kind of stop taking things for granted. You develop this renewed gratitude for just being here, for the people and the things that really truly matter. Fourth is recognizing new possibilities. And this one is fascinating. When your old way of life gets totally disrupted, it can actually force you to see doors and opportunities that you never even knew existed before.
And finally, for some people, the struggle leads to spiritual development. Now, this could mean a stronger connection to a faith you already had, or maybe just a deeper dive into those big existential questions about life, death, and what it all means. So, that's the theory. It sounds good, right? But what's the evidence? Did this actually happen during the pandemic? Well, a major new study set out to track these exact changes in real time, right in the middle of it all.
Researchers in Germany kicked off this incredible study. Starting way back in July 2020, they followed a group of adults for 2.5 years. And get this, they surveyed them every single month as they were living through it. This gave them an unprecedented play-by-play look at how people were changing.
We're talking about a ton of data here. They followed over 1,600 people, which gave them nearly 30,000 individual check-ins. It created this uniquely detailed map of how people were changing or not changing month by month. So what did they find? Well, it turns out it's complicated. On average, people did report feeling closer to others over those 2.5 years. So that's a check for growth. But at the very same time, their sense of new possibilities and spiritual connection actually went down. And the other areas like appreciation and personal strength, they pretty much stayed flat. This tells us right away that growth wasn't some simple, across-the-board thing.
But this is where the study gets really interesting, because the pandemic wasn't happening in a vacuum, right? Life, with all its normal ups and downs, just kept on going.
And that led the researchers to a crucial question. How did all those other chronic stressors, things like health problems or money troubles, how did they interact with the big trauma of the pandemic? Did they just pile on and make things worse? Or could they, paradoxically, have created more opportunities for growth? And the results were stunning. As you can see, the type of stress mattered immensely. Dealing with personal health problems on top of the pandemic actually hindered growth in relationships and life appreciation. But, and this is remarkable, dealing with financial problems actually boosted growth in those exact same areas. The one thing they both had in common? Both types of stress took a heavy toll on people's sense of personal strength. So, the crucial question is why?
Why would two different kinds of hardship push people's growth in such completely different directions? Well, the researchers have a really compelling explanation for this. The theory here makes a ton of sense. During a global health crisis, adding a personal health problem on top of that was just too overwhelming. It tends to isolate you. But financial stress, as incredibly difficult as it is, seems to have had the opposite effect. It's a kind of challenge that often forces people to lean on each other, which in turn strengthens bonds and fosters gratitude. It's a powerful lesson. Not all stress is created equal.
This quote from the study's authors just sums it up perfectly. We can't avoid adversity and trauma, they're facts of life. But by understanding how we respond, we can find ways to grow not despite our circumstances, but actually through them.
So, this leaves us with a really crucial takeaway. A one-size-fits-all approach to supporting each other just doesn't work. The person struggling with an illness needs something totally different from the person struggling with their bills. So, the question for all of us is this: how can we use this knowledge to get better at supporting the people in our own lives for the specific challenges they face, and maybe help them turn that struggle into strength?